One. Hi, my name is Rose Pino.
I'm Sebastian Nunez.
I'm Valerie Mendoza.
I'm Nayeli Jimenez.
I'm Isaac Gonzalez.
And I'm Jessica Mason.
And this is our film analysis. The film analysis was for the film The Family for our assignment, which was to have a movie night for our small group communications class. Our group got together and chose the film The Family from a selection of films that everyone submitted individually. And then we voted democratically, and The Family got the most votes. So we ended up watching that film. So in this presentation, we will be going through the analysis of the film The Family, starting with the introduction done by me, the summary done by Sebastian, the analysis done by Valerie, the discussion done by Nayeli and Isaac, and the conclusion by Jessica. We watched the film on Netflix because it was something that everyone in our group was able to have access to. We watched it individually because it was hard to find a time to schedule a watch party. So we watched it individually and then had a meeting later on to talk about the film. In our meeting, everyone had a positive review of the film. Everyone really enjoyed it, and we talked about the film during that meeting. So we talked about the ways that the ensemble members of the group in the film used small group communication such as team talk and verbal and nonverbal communication. We also talked about what is here on the poster board I made, which is the small group communication roles of the family members, such as the father being the leader and recorder and the daughter being the encourager of the family, and how that affected the communication within the group. Next, we have Sebastian, and he will be talking about the summary.
So I am Sebastian. So The Family was actually directed by Luc Besson and was released in 2013. The Family is considered an ensemble film, which in other words means that there is, in a way, more than one character. We of course do have a more main character. However, the entire plot isn't surrounded by that character, and we actually get to know many of the other characters in the movie. It is also part of the thriller, comedy, and crime genre. So we do have a little bit of moments that make you tense, some that make you laugh, and there are a couple of crimes committed in the movie. The Family is actually composed of Fred, Maggie, Belle, and Warren Blake. That is actually their witness protection program names, as when we barely meet them, they are being placed in Normandy, France, and which is kind of hints that they have moved around quite a bit. About something really interesting that we actually came to a conclusion of in our discussion was that the narrator was the father of the movie. So he finds a typewriter after moving into the home, and we kind of came to the consensus that we are either the typewriter or the book he decides to write on the typewriter. So the family is in a new town, and they really are doing their hardest to fit in as a normal family, but given the wild and extreme life that they had back home, that is kind of hard for them. There's nobody to talk to here, nothing to do, and no peanut butter. And the reason why I say that there's no peanut butter is actually because that was one of the customs that they were really used to in America that they weren't able to obtain in Normandy. So they have like a really hard time adjusting just because everybody there is a little bit more quiet, doesn't eat the same types of foods, and among everything else, like there's just no one really to talk to.
So the movie starts with the Manzoni family, Giovanni, Maggie, Warren, and Belle, entering their new home in Normandy where they begin their new lives as the Blake family. Like Sebastian said, Giovanni's past was basically involved with the mob, and he ended up ratting on them, which caused the family to move to Normandy under witness protection and change their names and become completely different people and live new lives. Although the family struggled a lot to settle into their new hometown, this was caused by Fred not being able to become a new person and sticking to his old ways and still committing crimes, and the kids not getting along with others in school and getting into fights. And they basically just didn't communicate these issues with each other, and it caused a lot of problems. Rather than keeping a low profile, the family ends up drawing more attention to them than they probably should have. This was mainly caused just because they seemed a lot like outliers rather than regular people in the town. Next slide, please. And later on in the film, a newspaper unintentionally shows up to the prison where the mob boss, who is tracking down Giovanni, this helps basically locate the family where exactly they're at in Normandy, and he basically sends out people to have a hit on the family. And once the mob arrives, they are immediately recognized by the family, who at the time happened to have been separated. Although they were able to fight off the mob, they ended up meeting up with each other and fighting together as a team, eventually being able to work together. And once the family ends up fighting the mob, they end up surviving, and they had to move to a different location where they start new lives once again. Next is Nayeli with the discussion.
So, as we all know, within a group setting, it is important to have a good communication and be able to comprehend one another's way of viewing things. Within these past projects, we have had some issues with one another's technology. Fortunately, we were all on time and able to communicate this time around better. Within this assignment, we got to figure out what type of genres each one of us likes. One of the difficulties we had in the group was trying to figure out what type of streaming service each one had. For example, some of us had Disney Plus, Hulu, but overall, we ended up concluding that we all had Netflix. Therefore, we went based on the movies Netflix had to offer for all of us to have better access and watch, and we ended up deciding on The Family. We all decided to watch the movie by a certain date and come together to discuss our opinion on the movie. For example, we met up and asked each other questions as to what was one of our favorite parts. And we all decided one of our favorite parts was when the character Warren Blake was confronted at school by his teachers when discussing how badly he had been doing in school. His response was automatically to ask for his lawyer before speaking anymore. So that is one of the many things we as a group agreed was one of our favorite parts of the film. Up next, we have Isaac Gonzalez discussing the second part of the discussion.
Another thing that was discussed while the group meeting was going on was if any of us felt a connection with any of the characters in the movie. If so, how? Many of the group members sympathized with the character Belle Blake, the daughter who was going through a young heartbreak with the love of her life, an aspect of feeling a certain way towards someone in such a short amount of time. We also discussed how her lack of good communication, as well as the rest of the family, contributed to her extreme reaction to her heartbreak. We discussed how if the family communicated better or more frequently, they could have prevented Belle from feeling the way she did. Throughout the movie, there were great examples of nonverbal communication, such as the F word. As his son explained throughout the movie, that one word could have many meanings behind it, depending on how it was used and nonverbal actions that go along with it. We as a group shared our perspectives and discussed what we thought as we analyzed the film. Our discussion went smoothly and we each were able to discuss our opinions and takeaways from the film freely. This goes to show that throughout the time in our group, we have become more comfortable with each other, giving each other criticism, opinion sharing. Sometimes we might not have been able to do that at the beginning stages of our group formation. During this meeting, everyone was paying attention, not distracted, and showing perfect attention to the group member when they were speaking. Overall, we ended up agreeing on certain parts of the analysis being shared throughout the group members and some being individual. Up next, we have Jessica.
So to kind of recap on the whole presentation, firstly, we had Rose explain the decision-making process on how we decided to watch the film, The Family, and how we decided to watch it on Netflix also. Secondly, we had Sebastian give a wonderful summary of the film and each character, some background information on each character, and sort of the plot of the film. He went over some important points of the film and some character development that he noticed. Thirdly, Valerie was able to give an analysis on the film. She was able to look at it from different perspectives and kind of make connections and everything like that. Lastly, Nayeli and Isaac were able to create a discussion around the film, and they were able to also make connections that we learned in class. They were able to see how the group in the movie used some small talk communication and how they were able to use verbal and nonverbal communication with each other. So what did we gain from this experience? So with this film analysis assignment, we were able to all learn something new about each other. We were all able to learn our favorite genres and what streaming devices we had, what kind of movies we liked, what movies we've seen, what movies we recommend to each other. And we've also all have a good movie to recommend now. We all know that The Family is a good movie now, and we've all enjoyed it. This analysis was a really positive experience. We built our communication a lot stronger. We're able to express frustration along with gratitude to other members, and we're able to communicate a lot better. And I'm excited to see that getting better in the future too.
All right, great job, everyone.